What is up, guys? My name is Dylan, aka Lunatunes, and today I'm going to talk about two heroes that I feel should swap ultimate abilities. And I'm talking about Orisa and Wrecking Ball. So we're going to kind of chop this up into three little segments. First, I'm just going to talk about what each ultimate ability does from a statistic standpoint, really get the numbers of it. Then I'm going to talk about why each hero doesn't need their ultimate, or why their ultimate doesn't fit their playstyle. Then third, I'm going to talk about, the what ifs. Wrecking Ball and Orisa swapped abilities, and kind of what that would mean for the hero, what kind of changes would have to be made, so on and so forth. So first, let's talk about Orisa and her supercharger ability. She plops that thing down wherever she's standing. She slams her supercharger, the bomb goes on the ground, and it lasts for 15 seconds. Has 200 health, so it can be destroyed. It boosts any teammates within line of sight on a 30-meter radius. It gives them a 50% damage boost for the duration of the ultimate, either until it runs out after the 15 seconds or until it's destroyed. Now, Wrecking Ball has his minefield. He deploys his mines, 12 mines in total, in a 5-meter radius. Each mine has 50 HP. They will do 130 damage and will also provide a little bit of knockback, so if you run into one mine, you could get knocked directly into another one. So now let's get into why I don't think these ultimate abilities are fitting for these particular heroes. Let's look at Orisa and her playstyle. So her playstyle is, I'm going to control this choke, I'm going to put down my barrier, I'm going to draw a line in the sand, and I do not want you to cross this barrier. Okay. What about Supercharger prevents the enemy team from passing that barrier and attacking Orisa? Really? Nothing. Ever since Orisa came into the game, I've always wondered, this is such a weird ultimate ability for not necessarily a tank to have, but for this tank to have. With her specific play style, why does she have such an offensive get kills now type of ultimate? She is more of a zone controlling type of tank. Okay, you plop her down, she's not mobile, she's an anchor tank. She plops down, that's her zone, she has to control it. You throw down a supercharger, in some situations it actually entices the enemy to get more aggressive on you. If there's a Reinhardt just a few feet away, I play a lot of Reinhardt, and so I know this, a million times I've encountered this. When Orisa pops down supercharger, that makes me want to attack, to destroy that supercharger as fast as possible. It's an easy target, it's only got 200 health. If you can burn through it, then it's a waste of an ultimate. So, if anything, at times a supercharger has a negative effect. It has the opposite effect of what it should be. And I'm not saying the supercharger is a bad ultimate. I think it's a great ultimate. I love it. I just don't think it's good for Orisa. It's just weird. It's a weird idea for a tank that is supposed to be an anchor for the team. Next, let's talk about Hammond or Wrecking Ball and his ultimate, the minefield. Again, I don't think it fits his playstyle whatsoever. He's highly mobile. He's seemingly a dive tank to grapple, fly into the back lines of the enemy team, ground pound, and burn down some squishies. What about the minefield ultimate screams dive tank? You have this extremely mobile character in Wrecking Ball, but you give him a static ultimate that just, you deploy it and it just sits there. There's nothing mobile about that. There's nothing active about that. You look at D.Va and Winston. Let's look at their ultimates. D.Va has a deadly ultimate. You can aim it wherever you want. Once you get good at it, you can really get some nice lob shots. You can shoot it inside rooms, behind buildings, in weird places that the enemy team isn't expecting, and get massive payoff for it. Winston, yes, his is a zoning ultimate just like Hammond's, but Winston's is more active. You can decide, you can pop the ult and then do things. You can decide, okay, I'm going to focus down just the Zenyatta because he's half health, we should try and get rid of him, or I need to get people off the point, so I'm going to prioritize zoning them off the point so we can try and capture this. Or you can pin a Reinhardt in a corner and just keep bashing him until he's dead. You know, you have so many options after you pop Primal Rage as Winston. With Hammond, it just makes no sense. Why give such a mobile character an ultimate that just, you deploy it and you just kind of hope something happens? You know, it's so weird. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I think, you know, for those of you listening, I think you'll understand a little bit more once I get to the third step, which we're about to do right now, what it would be like if you swapped ultimates for said heroes. So let's start with Orisa again. Now she has the minefield, okay? And she's holding a choke, first point Hanamura, okay? You're at that doorway. Let's say Reinhardt and the enemy team are going to get aggressive on you. They're going to use a Lucio speed boost to just rush through that choke, jump on top of Orisa, and start swinging away, try to bust down her barrier, what have you, okay? Let's say Orisa has that minefield. Think about that. They jump on top of Orisa to try and get past her shield. Orisa pops minefield, and suddenly anyone who was that aggro and on top of her, aka Reinhardt, as I said earlier, I play a lot of Reinhardt. I know what it's like to rush an Orisa, and I'm going to show you a clip in a second of what I'm talking about. You get on top of Orisa, you're swinging away, there's nothing really she can do. She doesn't have the damage output to take you down. She really has to rely on her DPS to bail her out of that situation. If you give her minefield, she can bail herself out, okay? Imagine this, Orisa with a barrier in front of her, surrounded by a 5-meter radius of 12 mines. If you're going to that automatically cuts off the route straight through the barrier, because enemy teams can walk through the barrier, right? That immediately cuts that option off. If they're going to want to get behind you to attack Orisa, they have to go around the minefield. They have to take a longer route. Instead of just coming straight through the barrier, they have to go around the minefield in order to get, you know, Orisa in their line of sight in order to do damage. That, or if they have to burn the barrier and spend a lot of resources on that barrier. And if you're the Reinhardt who's on top of that Orisa and she pops minefield, you are screwed, because in between you and your support is Orisa's barrier, and you're in the middle of a minefield. And I mean, that's just it. You know, nobody else can come in and help the Reinhardt because there's that minefield preventing them from you know, taking that zone. And that, to me, matches up perfectly with Orisa's gameplay style. As I described earlier, she draws a line in the sand and says, you are not going to cross this line. Or at least that's what it should be, right? Doesn't the minefield support that style of play? Does it not? You know, I think they mesh so well. And so here's the clip I was talking about. You see me just kind of getting on top of this Orisa. Now in this clip, she doesn't have supercharger, she doesn't have ultimate, she doesn't use any ultimates or anything like that. But I just want you to watch this clip and imagine, you know, I get on top of Orisa, I'm hitting her with my hammer, and she pops minefield. Like, think of what that would do to this current situation. We ended up destroying them on this attack because I was able to move past the Orisa shield. It became, you know, null and void, unimportant, and we won the fight. If she has minefield there, that protects not only her, but the rest of her team too. It would force us to take a different route, a different approach on the attack. So, I mean, that's it. Just, to me, it's clear as day that they would work really well together. So now let's move on to Hammond, okay? And this one would actually require some pretty major changes to the ultimate of Supercharger, okay? So Hammond is a mobile character, so we wouldn't want to give him Supercharger that Orisa has, where she plants it on the ground and it stays there. So instead, if I were to do it, I would put the Supercharger on Hammond, kind of like, you know, when Bridget, you know, does her rally, her rally ultimate, how that flag comes out of her, you know, her backpack or whatever. It would kind of be like that. The Supercharger just kind of zoop just kind of protrudes out of Hammond's mech for a little while. And it would be indestructible. You wouldn't be able to destroy the supercharger. The only way to end the ultimate would be to kill Hammond or wait until the time runs out. Speaking of that time, you would need to reduce it from 15 seconds, because obviously that would be just way OP. We need to reduce it from 15 seconds to maybe 5 or 8 seconds. I think in there would kind of be like a decent range, because this is how I would imagine using the ultimate would be like. Okay, so let's say you're doing a triple dive tank comp. Okay, this is what people have been talking about. Oh, this is what's going to happen with Hammond. It's going to be Hammond, D.Va, and Winston, triple tank dive comp. So let's go with that example. You coordinate with your teammates. You say, hey guys, we're about to dive. I've got supercharger. Remember, you're playing Wrecking Ball. I've got supercharger, so let's do this. We're gonna dive up on the high ground, see if we can get some picks. Okay, so you would grapple, swing yourself up in the air, pop supercharger while you're in the air, and as you're coming down, you could do your ground pound or whatever, but with you is D.Va and Winston. So you, D.Va, and Winston are all getting a 50% damage boost, plus any other of your teammates that are in the vicinity are all getting a 50% damage boost for 5 to 8 seconds while you're diving the enemy backline. That is almost a guaranteed kill unless one of the supports on the other team uses, a Transcendence or maybe a Valkyrie. I don't know, they might just be able to eat through that. Unless they, really use their ultimates to keep their team alive, I think that would be a great ultimate. I think it would be awesome. It would really give Hammond an attacking style ultimate. So, that's pretty much all I got. If I missed anything, I apologize. Tell me what you guys think. Leave it in the comments below. Like the video if you think I did a good job, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace, guys.